Yes, please. Thank you. It's going to block my view here. Can you put it taller? This one can go up.
This one. No, I'm trying to do this one.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. So I'd like to welcome you to today's Sunday Feast program. So we'll sing Jarada Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jayo Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Radhe Jayo Shri Radhe Jayo Gauranitai Jayo Gauranitai Gauranitai Jayo Gauranitai Jayo Nitya Satinandana Nitya Satinandana Nitya Satinandana Nitya Satinandana Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jai Gautamanandi Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki Shrimati Radha Rani ki Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Shri Shri Nitai Satinandan ki Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Shri Gurudev ki Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhaktaya Shrimate Janananda Prabhu Swami Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhaktaya Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namni Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauramchani Nirvishesha Shanyamari Pastyaktiristani Om Jnanam Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakramina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So once again, thank you for being part of this Sunday feast today. I'd like to thank His Grace Shyam Sharan Prabhu to give me the support to speak today. Hopefully I'll meet his expectation. So today we are going to continue the verses from chapter 2. The title of the chapter is Contents of the Gita Summarized. So last Sunday feast, His Grace President Prabhu stopped at verse number 28. So today I'll just carry on from verse 29, and I also try to include verse 30 because verse 30 is the concluding verse for that section in Gita where Lord Krishna is putting forward to Arjuna an analysis of body and soul. So verses 11 to 30, a section in the Bhagavad Gita which is called Analysis of Body and Soul, that is spirit and matter. Okay? It's called the Jnana section. And the core message in that section of verses 11 to 30 is Lord Krishna is saying to Arjuna, fight. There's no death for the soul. The body cannot be saved. We'll explain now. Okay? And in fact, in that in verse 30, Prabhupada is right. First line, first sentence of the purport. The Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul. Okay? So the way I proceed today will be, I'll read the two verses, and then the translation, and because of time constraint, what time am I supposed to finish, bro? 1 o'clock?
3 o'clock, 5 to 1. Just 5 to 1.
5 to 1, okay, thank you. So I won't be reading the purpose proper, I will just referring to key phrases and key sentences or key words. And hopefully I'll be able to convey the messages contained in these two verses. So for this I will need your blessings. Panchakalpatarvyascha kripasinnivevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. So what is Gita? It's used too often, I think.
Have been used.
Yeah, heavily used. It's good. No, that's fine. It's fine. All is gold. Okay, verse number 29. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschideenam ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah ascharyavat chainamanyah shnoti shrudvapi enam vedana chaiva kaschit. Translation. Some look on the soul as amazing. Some describe him as amazing. And some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Verse 30. Dehi nityam avadhyayam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani na tvam so chittam arhasi. Translation. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain, therefore you need not grieve for any living entity. You got it on your phone there, these two verses? Database? Fine. So, to start, let's first of all see the connection between verse 28 and verse 29. It's good because Bhagavad Gita is a flow of chapters and the verses in the chapter flow. Okay, let's see the connection between 28 and 29. In 28, that is, the translation was, all created beings are unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? So the core message in verse 28 is that before birth, the soul is unmanifest. During life, the soul becomes manifest through a particular body. And after death, the soul again becomes unmanifest. Simple, no? Before taking up a body, the soul is unmanifest. During the life of the body, the soul manifests itself, and after death of the body, the soul becomes unmanifest. Let's use an analogy here. Before sunrise, can you see the sun? There's no sun. But during the day, daytime, can you see the sun? Yes. And after sunset, let's say again, sun sets, and we can't see the sun. But does this mean the sun stops to exist? Does it mean? Does it mean that the sun stops to exist? No. So similarly, the soul, after death, still continues to exist. Death is not an end itself for the soul. It's only a transition. For the soul, death is a transition, because the soul is going to take up another body, depending upon that body's karma. In verse 29, we'll see today, some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of it as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. And in this verse here, Lord Krishna will go a step further. From verse 28, where he's giving the concept of manifest and unmanifest, in verse 29 now Lord Krishna is going to go a step deeper into the philosophy of the soul. Here the Lord will describe, or will mention, or we're going to speak about the amazing nature of the soul. In this verse over here, the translation itself, Lord Krishna is referring to 4 categories of people here. 4 categories of people Lord Krishna is referring to here. The first category, those who consider the soul as amazing, but it says here, some look on. Look on means consider. Those who consider the soul as amazing, first category. Second category is those who describe the soul as amazing. So consider, describe. And the third category is those who hear about the soul as amazing. Considering, describing, and hearing. And the fourth category is those who, even after hearing about the soul, cannot understand him at all. 4 categories of people. So the word amazing is repeated 3 times. Can you see there? 3 times. Consider as amazing, describing as amazing, and hearing about amazing. But if you read the translation carefully, the word amazing appears 4 times. Can you see it? Prabhuji, can you see it? Can you see the hidden, the section where the word amazing is hidden? Anyone? Was it forward? Yes, Mataji?
So even after hearing about him, you cannot understand that he's also amazing.
Very good, Mataji. Thank you. So, considering, describing, hearing, and even you can understand that it is amazing. 4 categories, 3 times repeated, 4th time is hidden. That's the beauty of this translation here. So, verse 30. In verse 30, the translation, Lord Krishna is referring to
Arjuna. He's giving him addressing by a name over there. What's the name? How is Lord Krishna addressing Arjuna here? What does it mean? Descendant of Bharata. The lineage, Bharat Maharaj. Very good. We'll try to keep this class interactive because the purport are very straightforward, simple to understand. We'll try to keep it interactive. Okay? So here Krishna is reminding Arjuna of his noble lineage. It invokes his duty and sense of responsibility. So he's coming from a very great lineage, which means that Lord Krishna is reminding to Arjuna duty and responsibility. And he's telling him to rise above weakness of heart. That's what Arjuna was facing in the very beginning when he was seeing the army in front of him. And he was in the middle of those two armies. Senayog Bajod Madhye. He was there. When he tells to Krishna, Lord Krishna, take my chariot in the middle. And when looking at the back and looking at the front, he was closer, and Lord Krishna took the chariot purposefully just in front of who? Bhishma and Dronacharya. Because Krishna knows his plans. He has to make it in such a way that like Arjuna gets overwhelmed with confusion or attachment to the bodily form, and then he can have a reason to speak the Bhagavad Gita. And also in the translation, Krishna says something more here. He says, you should know that there is no better, 1230. He says, oh descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. So what is Lord Krishna implying here when he says, he who dwells in the body? What is trying to imply? No, you're going too far ahead. What he's saying, he who dwells in the body. Soul, and then close.
Soul is immortal.
That's a step further. He who dwells in the body.
Soul is living in the body.
Yes. Two components here. The he is the soul and the body. So Krishna makes it straightforward here. He who dwells in the body, which means the soul and the body are separate, distinct. It's a very important point here to note. Okay? He who dwells in the body can never be slain. So is Lord Krishna referring to the body here or to the soul here? Soul. Straightforward. He who dwells in the body can never, he doesn't say cannot, can never be slain. Okay? And then he says, therefore you need not grieve for any living being, including Dronacharya, Bhishma Pitama, whoever in the battlefield, for any living being. He doesn't say you don't grieve for Bhishma Pitama or Dronacharya. No, any living being. So the Lord is referring here to Dehi, says here, Dehi nityam abhajyo ayam. And second line he says Dehi. The Dehi is the owner of the material body, and Dehi is the body. Dehi is the one who occupies the body is Dehi. Dehi and Dehi. So the soul resides in the body, but is not the body. So when Arjuna is saying, instead of confusion, he's saying to Lord Krishna, my relatives will be destroyed. That's what he's saying on and on to Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna corrects him. He says, the real person inside the body cannot be destroyed. Death only applies to the body and not to the soul. Like I said before, death is only a transition for the soul, from one body to another. So as a conclusion to this philosophy of the soul, Krishna is saying here, therefore you need not grieve for the living being. Reasoning is logical. Why? Soul is immortal, eternal. It cannot be killed, and therefore lamentation on the destruction of the body is ignorance. The confusion of Arjuna in the battlefield before the start of the war is putting him into a state of confusion. He's confused and he's lamenting at the same time. So now let's look at the purport themselves now. Like I said, I won't be reading the purport because of time constraint. I'll be referring to the key words and key phrases and sentences in the purport. So back to verse 29. Srila Prabhupada starts his purport by making the connection between Gita Upanishad. What is Gita Upanishad? What is Gita Upanishad? This is Gita Upanishad. Are you with me? Why? Why is it called Gita Upanishad?
It's a conversation between two people sitting in front of each other, asking a disciple asking.
Exactly, it's a conversation. After all, it's a song because Krishna, when he speaks, he sings it so nicely. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. It's a song of God, Gita Upanishad. And Prabhupada here is making the connection between Gita Upanishad and Katha Upanishad. He was referring to that verse over there. Shravanayapi bahubhi yo na labhya shrinvanto api bahavo yam na vidyu ascharyo bhakta kushalosya labdha ascharyosya jnata kushala nushishtaha. The translation is given over here, but I've been able to Google it and found this. The translation to the verse over there, please listen carefully. The self is not easily understood by many, even after hearing about it. Many who hear of it do not know it at all. Wonderful is the person who can explain it properly, and fortunate is the one who finds such a teacher. Wonderful indeed is the person who understands it when instructed by a qualified spiritual master. That's the translation of that verse here, 1.2.7 from the Katha Upanishad. So again here it's mentioned wonderful. In the translation it was referring to amazing. Synonyms for the word amazing are astonishing, incredible, wonderful. So we see there in the first, the verse over there, it says, some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, and while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand how amazing it is, or he is. And here, in this translation here, wonderful is a person who can explain it properly. Wonderful indeed is a person who understands it when instructed by a qualified spiritual master. So now, what is so amazing about the soul? Everyone over here knows the difference between body and soul? Everyone over here knows that we are not the body, we are the soul? Everyone here? Everyone? No exception? Very good.
In theory, yes.
In theory? Yes. We'll take up the practical side then. So Prabhupada writes in his purport, the soul has amazing power irrespective of size. The soul is not proportionate to the size of the body. The soul has amazing power irrespective of size of the body. It animates a gigantic elephant. It animates a gigantic banyan tree. Have you seen a banyan tree? Have you seen? How big is it? Can you put your arms around the banyan tree? Anyone has tried here? Nobody. It's still like a newly grown tree, but when it's fully grown tree, how many people do you need to have? Sometimes 10 people maybe? It's very huge. Imagine the soul. Do you know the size of the soul? Anyone doesn't know the size of the soul here? What's the size of the soul? Can you make it simpler, please?
Take the hair.
Yes.
And then the tip of the hair, you divide that by 100.
Yes.
And then you take one part and then you divide that by 100 again.
Can you visualize the size of the soul. Have you seen the tip of your hair? How small it is. Now imagine, like Prabhu explained here, cut it into 100, 99 parts away, take 100, into 100 again. Amazing, right? Have we yet invented the microscope or the telescope, whatever you call it, to see the size of the soul? Are they trying or are they given up? They haven't even tried? Leave it, you can't do it. They better spend time sending those to the rockets to the moon.
Then comes the question, the soul is supposed to be spirit, that means it's not supposed to have any size or anything. But why are we saying it's 1/10,000th of the hair? Because people can't understand, otherwise we don't quantify it, right? But people
Yes.
can't understand the size of the soul.
I agree with you. In the spiritual realm, everything is absolute. There's no relativity. But here, for the purpose of explaining to people in general, we have to quantify the size of the soul just to make them realize how small that soul is. And even then, it's so powerful. The soul is the only, how can I use the word entity? Or can I use the word entity? Who has access to the spiritual world. You cannot take your body to the spiritual world. Agree with me? The soul only has access to the spiritual world. You have to leave your body behind, and there you have to take up the spiritual body to be able to serve the Lord as the eternal Master. Not only the gigantic elephant, not only gigantic mighty tree, millions and billions of microbic germs within a tiny space. Amazing, huh? But even then, materialistic people cannot grasp its amazing nature. And Prabhupada mentioned here who they are. People with poor fund of knowledge, people lacking austerity, and people absorbed in sense gratification. These people, they can't grasp the amazing nature of the soul. They can't understand it. Even if you tell them, they can't understand it. How amazing the soul is. While preparing for this class here, I managed to come across a transcribed lecture by His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami, where he mentioned Lord Krishna describes from verses in chapter 2, verses 13 to 30, the 25 qualities of the soul. Chapter 2, verses 13, 1-3 to 30, 3-0, the 25 qualities of the soul. Would you be interested to know about them? And referring to the verse as well? Good. Let's start. Anyone wants to count? You're welcome. First one, Dehantara. Hindi is very close to Sanskrit. You'll be able to make up or make out the meaning. I will still give the meaning in English. Dehantara, verse number 2.13, which means transferred from the body. Dehantara praptir, dhiras tatra na muyati, verse 30. Key verse in the Gita for everyone. So first one is Dehantara, means transferred from the body. Second one from verse 2.17, Avinashi, which means imperishable. Third one is Anashino, never to be destroyed, verse 2.18. Same verse, Apra Yasya, immeasurable. Fifth one is Na Jayate, never takes birth, from verse 2.20. There are several of them now in verse 2.20. So after Na Jayate, which means never take birth, Na Mriyate, never dies. Na Bhutva, never came into being. Ajaha, unborn, still from verse 2.20. Nitya, eternal, verse 2.20. Shri Shri Nitaya Satchidananda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitaya Ki Jai. Ajaha, unborn. Nityaha, eternal. Shashvato, permanent. and Purna, Purana, the oldest, from verse 2.20. Carry on here, verse 2.21, Avyayam. What's the meaning of Avyayam? No, Avyayam means?
Cannot be cut.
No, Avyayam means immutable, which means doesn't change. You know the mutant? Change? It's immutable, doesn't change. That's verse number 2.21. And verse 2.23, Na chindanti shastrani, cannot be cut into pieces by weapons. Any weapon you take, it cannot be cut into pieces. You cannot chop it. Verse 2.24, Achit dyaha, unbreakable. Again from verse 24, Adha dyaha, cannot be burned. Akledio, insoluble, you can't dissolve it. That's from verse 2.24. Ashosya, cannot be dried. 2.24. Sarvagataha, all pervading. 2.24. Sthanur, unchangeable. 2.24. Achalo, immovable. 2.24. Sanatanaha, eternally the same. 2.25, Avyakta, invisible. Achintya, 2.25, inconceivable. Ascharyavat, verse 29, that is today, amazing. And the last one is Avadya, cannot be killed. Culminates with verse 30, the last quality of the soul, which, taking all of them there, you cannot kill the soul. That's where Lord Krishna is concluding the philosophy of the analysis of body and soul, spirit and matter, concluding that philosophy by saying the soul cannot be killed. Let's get back to the purport now. Srila Prabhupada gives a warning sign here in the 2.29 purport. He points out that some people accept the super soul, which is Paramatma. And where is the Paramatma residing in the body? In the heart. Some people accept that the super soul, Paramatma, and the individual soul, Jiva, as one without distinction of magnitude. Some people. It says over here. Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes, owing to ignorance, they are misguided by acceptance of the super soul and the atomic soul as one without distinction of magnitude. Is that correct? The Vedic conclusion, what does it say? The spirit soul and the super soul are both spiritual. They're both eternal. But they differ in magnitude and position. Magnitude, qualitatively, the spirit soul is equal to the super soul. Qualitatively. Quantitatively, the spirit soul is infinitesimal. Very, very minute compared to the super soul. And in position, how are they different? How are they different in position? The spirit soul and the super soul. How? What did you serve? So the soul is the eternal servant of the super soul. What's the verse? Jivera Sarupa Hoye Krishnera Nitya Das. Krishnera from Krishna, Nitya always, Das servant. Simple. So can they be in the same position? Never. Qualitatively the same, spirit. Quantitatively, servant, master. Example here, the analogy of the sunshine and the sun. Sunshine and the sun, they both emanate sunlight, light. But can the sunshine be equal to the sun? Because without sun, there's no sunlight. Simple.
Energy and
Energy and energetic. Thank you. Verse number 2.17, something like that. Yes, energy, what's the difference?
so from the energetic, the energy
Comes.
so the source and the,
Yes, from the powerhouse, heat or light comes. Okay? Very good. Srila Prabhupada further highlights that understanding the individual soul, the super soul, and their relationship is very difficult. He said in the purport there. Understanding the individual soul, the super soul, and their relationship is very difficult. But he says, if somehow or other one is able to understand the subject matter of the soul, then one's life is successful. Over here, do you know about the individual soul? Do we all know? Do we know about the super soul? All know? Do we know about the relationship between the super soul and the individual soul? Fine. Your lives are successful. Srila Prabhupada is not lying here, he's saying it here in the purport. Do you agree, Prabhuji? You seem doubtful. Prabhupada is saying it over here. If you know about the individual soul, the super soul, and the relationship, successful. No doubt. Simple. And if you are still doubtful, Srila Prabhupada, what will you ask? What's the difficulty of understanding this simple concept? So, and Prabhupada gives a solution here in the last paragraph of the purport to verse 29. The easiest process for understanding the subject matter of self, however, is to accept the statements of the Bhagavad Gita spoken by the greatest authority, who is Lord Krishna, without being deviated by other theories. One-pointed learning, the Bhagavad Gita says this, that's it. But it also requires a great deal of penance, that's what Prabhupada mentioned here. For this to be possible, it requires austerity, penance. It requires sincerity. We have to accept Lord Krishna as the authority. No? And ultimately, the mercy of the causeless mercy, Krishna, however, be known as such by the causeless mercy of the pure devotee and by no other way. That's why it's always recommended to hear Bhagavad Gita. If you can't read the Bhagavad Gita, you can read, you can still not understand the Bhagavad Gita, you have to seek shelter of a pure devotee who can disseminate knowledge, because the pure devotee will have heard it from his predecessor, his senior, like this, the parampara system. That's how the Gita came to us, parampara system, no? If you want to study the Gita, we can't just take it like this and study by ourselves. Like Punya Prabhu and Rupabhati Mataji are starting next week, I think, the intro course. You have to go to the proper source, who themselves have got it from their spiritual master, and his spiritual master has got it from his spiritual master, who is no other than Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada has got it from his spiritual master, and so on. Simple. But we make it difficult ourselves. We think, just by taking the book off the shelf, take it and read it like a novel book, we'll understand the Bhagavad Gita. Nonsense. Gita is a practical book. You agree with me? It's not a story book. It's part of the Mahabharata, yes, fine. It's a practical book. How to live our life to become a perfect human being, to be able to get out of this spiritual plane, material plane, to go back to the spiritual plane. Well, Lord Krishna is eagerly waiting for us. Saying, why are you rotting in this material world over here? What are you doing there? That's not the place to be. Come over here, let's enjoy with me. But we are a bit reluctant to go. Look towards him, then look towards the material, it's more fun over here, let's stay here. And that's the biggest mistake we are making, because we are in ignorance. That's the main reason we are in this material world, because of our ignorance. Let's look at the purport of verse 30 now. So we see in verse 29, the Lord establishes the amazing nature of the soul. And in verse 30, the Lord concludes that the soul is immutable, doesn't change, and immortal, cannot be destroyed. But the body is perishable. So when Arjuna is placing in front of Lord Krishna his argument, I'm going to kill my grandfather, I'm going to kill my teacher, they're going to die in the battlefield, Lord Krishna responds. He says, the soul cannot be killed, only the body is destroyed. And what did he say then? The instruction, do not abandon your duty due to bodily attachment. Rise and fight. So he concludes the philosophy of the soul on chapter 30. He says, the soul cannot be killed, only the body will be destroyed. So stop this concept of body attachment, do your duty, rise and fight. After all, he's a Kshatriya. What is he supposed to do? What's the dharma of the Kshatriya? To fight. But momentarily, Arjuna forgot about his duty, and then Lord Krishna has to remind him. And also Prabhupada here concludes his purport here by saying something very important. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, because violence is justified only when it is sanctioned by the Lord, like here. It's part of one's dharma, Arjuna's dharma, to fight as a Kshatriya. And it serves a higher purpose. What's the higher purpose here in the Kurukshetra war? To reestablish dharma. So Krishna is using Arjuna as a via medium to get rid of who? Of the Kauravas, Duryodhana and his brothers. Like in the first verse, I think, chapter 1, I think, removing the wheat from the paddy field. No, that's the analogy which Krishna is using. Removing the wheat from the paddy field. Because if you don't remove the wheat from the paddy field, what will happen? They will just overcome all those nice, what do you call them? Rice plants, which are growing, and then we'll just destroy them. So the higher purpose is to get rid of all those unwanted weeds. And also, in this way, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita are going to be protected by being misused. So, let's look at the combined message from verse 29 and verse 30. Together, these verses teach the soul is amazing, and at the same time difficult to understand. But one truth is certain. It can never be destroyed. Therefore, lamentation for the body is unnecessary. That's the core message from verse 29 and verse 30. To end now, as an ending note, I'd like to quote from the Gita daily by His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu on verse 30. Please listen carefully. It's very interesting what he says over here. The purpose of Atma Gyan, that is knowledge of the soul, is not to make us artificially detached from the body or force us into an unnatural renunciation. You get it here? The purpose of Atma Gyan is not to make us artificially detached from the body or force us into an unnatural renunciation. Rather, it is meant to help us intelligently adopt a process for rising above bodily identification. Intelligence is important. Rather, it is meant to help us intelligently adopt a process from rising above bodily identification. It goes further, it says, knowing that a life beyond the body is available to us should inspire us to follow the path that leads to that higher reality, which is spiritual life. Grief should not deprive us of the higher life that awaits us as eternal souls. Grief should not deprive us of the higher life that awaits us as eternal souls. Did it make sense to you? Do you want me to repeat it, or are you okay? I read it again. So this is a Gita Daily quote from verse 30 by His Grace Chaitanya Prabhu. The purpose of Atma Gyan, that is knowledge of the soul, is not to make us artificially detached from the body. It's not artificial means here. Or force us, there's no forcing here, into an unnatural renunciation. But then the renunciation should be voluntary. You can't force it. It could not be unnatural. Rather, it is meant to help us intelligently adopt a process for rising above bodily identification. And he goes further, he says, knowing that a life beyond the body is available to us should inspire us to follow the path that leads to that higher reality, which is the spiritual life. Grief should not deprive us of the higher life that awaits us as eternal souls. When you're successful in your life here, you're going to leave this material world, you're going to the spiritual world, you'll take up a spiritual body, and you'll start the spiritual life which you left before to come to this material life, which you're thinking you're enjoying here, but actually you're very unhappy here. Like the fish out of the water. Prabhupada uses this analogy. When you leave the spiritual world, you come over here with our luggage. What's the baggage we are carrying with us? Birth, death, old age, disease, and hang on, take this bonus. Adhyatmika, Adi Devika, Adi Bhautika. Take it with you. And when you come here, what are we here? Trying to be happy, and we are never happy. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any question, comment, or something just like what I said? I'm just repeating what's written over here. Question.
So in 2.4, as you referred to, the soul is immeasurable.
Yes.
And in 2.24, you said it is
Immutable.
Immovable.
Yes.
So how, at the first instance from 2.4, when you say it is immeasurable, how we can
good point.
And the second part of the question is like when it is immovable, how it can move from this material world to future world.
Okay. Answer your first question there, which is immeasurable. This means that physically you can't take something, whatever. What do you have here? If you have to measure this distance here, what do you use? A tape measure. To measure anything, you have to have tape measure or whatever. In physics, you use whatever you call it, scale, okay? But physically, you can't measure it. That's what the scientists are trying to do. Some weight's written 1/10 of the size of the tip of the hair. Do you have something to measure it, to check it, to prove that Shastra is correct? No, you can't measure it. That's why it says you can't measure. The dimension of the soul is given by Shastra. You accept it. If you want to measure it, you are trying to challenge what the Shastra is saying. Simple.
So where in the Shastra this reference comes from?
I think the Shvetashara Upanishad, I think. And also in another, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And your second question is?
When it is immovable, how it can travel from the material world to the spiritual world?
Oh. How can it travel from the material world to the spiritual world? Lord Krishna makes it possible for it.
Eventually.
Even here, the soul needs a vehicle to move. You came over here to the temple using your car. Where's your car right now? In the parking bay. Is it moving there? It needs you to move it. And you need the car to move. But this movement, this transition from the material world to the spiritual world, there's no sort of airplane or whatever you call it. Krishna makes it possible from special arrangement for you. Then it moves. Everything happens by Krishna's will. Did I answer your questions? Any other questions, please? Salam Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Any comment? Okay. From the kids over here, Arjun. You have a question? Who attends Bhakti Vriksha classes here? Most of you? It's like a refresher course to you, know? Anyone not part of a Bhakti Vriksha here? You're not part of Bhakti Vriksha? Where do you live, Mataji? Would you like to join the Bhakti Vriksha? That's what we teach in the Bhakti Vriksha, the Bhagavad Gita. Would you be interested? Sorry? That's online one by Mataji? No? Yeah, Prabhuji's wife. That's good. Yeah. If anyone over here doesn't form part of Bhakti Vriksha, you can contact His Grace Punya Prabhu, who is sitting over here, and he'll just take your details and maybe channel you to the proper suburb. Yes, Prabhuji.
So, we just read in the scripture that, like Bhagavad Gita, we are the soul and not God. So realizing is also a big hurdle, isn't it? To
Yes.
realize that. So what is your advice to us to how to go about to realize that we are the soul and not the body? Because I would say that most of the time we get engrossed into this material world. So what are the tips that you can give us to realize that, to go about so that gradually we are not so attached to this world?
Prabhuji, to confess, I'm also struggling. So I'm part of I'm in the same bag. So, but I can tell you one thing here. This philosophy comes from the Gita. That's what I always tell my Bhakti Vriksha members. The Gita is meant to be read, not only once. You read it, you read it, you read it. Prabhupada says, when you can't understand, don't give up, keep reading. When you read it enough, you study it. Study groups. Punya Prabhu does that. You study it. When you study it carefully, you understand it. You assimilate. And then only you can realize. So taking the Gita, straight away to realize it's not possible. Read, keep reading, seek shelter, approach new devotees, go to lectures, attend classes. Study. Studying and reading are different. Study, you go deeper. When you study, you understand, then you assimilate, you apply, and then you realize. Maybe Prabhu wants to add something, Prabhuji?
I just wanted to say, the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, first Lord says about who we are, then follows by, he gives us the process of realizing who we are.
Okay.
Like Prabhu said. So then there are different types of yogas mentioned, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, for different types of people. But the principle is sacrifice.
Yes.
Sacrifice means if we all have limited time, limited resources, so let's take it time. We have limited time and we have so many things to do. So sacrifice means some people watch television, some people spend time on phones, some people do so many other things. But instead of doing that, we sacrifice that time and we have to use that to come in association of the devotees and understand and study what Prabhu Gita, like what Prabhu said. And there is a process which is given by in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, by the Acharyas. We try to practice that process. And by practicing that process, we become purified. Because right now we are not so much purified. We have anger, lust, greed, which from at every moment takes us away from the goal. So we have to become purified. Once we become purified, then we can realize.
Yeah.
Until such time, we won't be able to realize. So ultimately comes down to sacrifice and using that time by following the process given by the acharyas of purification.
Yes, Prabhuji. You want the mic? Mic.
Mike.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Krishna Prabhu asked, how do we realize that we're not the with soul? Our philosophy is more than understanding that we are souls, or understanding that we are servants of Krishna. So that's even higher understanding. So when we understand we are servants of Krishna, then we want to serve Him. When we start serving Him, then we understand we understand who we are. This is Prabhupada says, when we start chanting Hare Krishna, we understand that we are not this body. So the process of realizing that we are not body is to do some service. That is the service, Sevanmukhi Jivado, like service starts with tongue, with the chanting Hare Krishna. So when we start chanting Hare Krishna and start taking prasadam, then we understand we are not this body. And then we are all eternal servants of Krishna. So then we'll understand everything about it.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Because this relationship is eternal. We are eternal. The spirit soul is eternal. The super soul is eternal, which means the relationship is eternal. And what's the relationship is? Eternal, servant of Krishna. But we've forgotten that relationship, and the Krishna consciousness movement, like Prabhupada says, is to revive this forgetfulness that we are the servant of Krishna, Nityam, always. Thank you, Prabhuji. Mike, please. Mike.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, I was just wanting to understand, Prabhu, did you actually ask if the soul is immovable? Is that okay?
It's achala, cannot move.
Okay. Prabhu, can I understand that also as immovable because it's in the heart and it cannot be moved in a different part of your body? Can that also be taken as a...
It says consciousness over the whole body comes from the soul. So this consciousness spreads over the whole body. But the soul always stays next to the Paramatma in the heart.
So can I understand that as another explanation for why it's immovable? Like it cannot, it's not moving in a different part of your body, or is that?
Maybe Punya Prabhu, this is to you. Or Hema Prabhu.
Actually, I was just thinking when she asked a question that immovable, about that was immovable. So I was thinking, what about even in the subtle body? Isn't it? It still needs to be carried from the went to from a subtle body to another body.
Yeah,
so in one sense, it still is there, but on its own, it's like it needs a vehicle to move to another body. Not that it can just go to another body, because even to move to another body also is because of our karma. That means it's also predestined that this person will be born in this family or be born in the lower species and all that. I mean, that comes to me that in one sense that immovable, you still need a vehicle like that.
Prabhu wants to say something there. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. I
Hare
have
Krishna.
very limited knowledge, but from Mahabharata, immovable is always reference to Himalayas or Meru and so forth. That means no one can move it. No force can move the soul. The soul is so strong that nobody can move it. So that's my understanding about the soul. The soul will move, but not by any other forces, by itself, something like that.
No, I won't say anything. I'm just saying that one thing we should all learn, that with philosophy and especially Bhagavad Gita, we should not speculate.
Yes.
So if we don't know, we don't know, and we should ask the authorities to get that answer. So I have an answer, but I want to confirm that first before I get that.
No problem. That's correct. The way to proceed is always seek authorities.
I'm just going to share on this immovable from what I've heard. Soul in the material world is moving from different bodies, so it's movable. But soul is immovable from its constitutional position as a servant of the Supreme Lord.
Good point.
That position is fixed. He cannot move from that position. In the material world, under illusion, he takes on different bodies. But in his constitutional position, he is Nitya servant of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah, it says over here. Let's go to the translation, because immovable is from verse 2.24, Achala. The individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burnt nor dry. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Doesn't give much information here. No, let's see here.
I think immovable in the sense of getting old, from childhood to old age. From childhood to old age, or from birth to death. The soul stays as you're born, is the same when you die. So that's what immovable is with respect to it in here.
No, but here the body is still changing.
Body changing, but the soul dying. And that's what's immovable. Movable body is moving from childhood. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. That body is not there.
It's still, you mean within that concept of the same person, you mean?
Yeah, so in the verse, when it says immovable, soul is immovable, it says it's in that sense of moving. Because it changes the body. We know the soul, jiva, moves from one body to another body and another body until it gets liberated. So it is movable in that sense, but immovable in the sense of getting old or being changed on its own, just like body does.
That's the word we use, transmigrate from one body to another.
This is all speculation.
So my understanding, I want to share
It's not.
No, what I'm saying is there has to be reference from the Shastra.
Yes, no, that's correct.
So it's just what I'm thinking, what he's thinking, what everyone is thinking. So there has to be reference from the Shastra, and we're trying to understand something from the Shastra.
one reference as Yoga Maya Shakti has done for the incarnation Lord Balrama.
Yeah.
So there is another potency of the Lord which makes this immovable parcel of the Lord to another body in the material world, and of course when it needs to move from the material world to the spiritual world, and they made the arrangement through their spiritual potencies, so it can move. But by itself, it can't move. It stays where it should stay. There are potencies aligned to change this position from one to another one. This is my understanding.
Maybe Chaitanya Prabhu can say something, please. It's getting very interactive now. That's good. Keep it up.
We are going to Dhyan now.
So I asked ChatGPT about the meaning.
ChatGPT, our dear friend.
So I want to read what it says here. It says, what immovable specifically means. Of course, I read something before also. It says, in the Bhagavad Gita, when it says the soul is immovable, it means Atma, the soul, never changes its essential nature and cannot be affected by physical conditions.
That's what you said.
Okay. And then what immovable specifically means, we got 4 points here. One is the soul does not change its nature. The body grows, ages and dies, but the soul always remains the same. Number 2, it is not affected by the material forces, physical movement, destruction or transformation cannot affect the soul. Number 3, it is steady and permanent. Unlike the body and the mind, which are always changing, the soul is constant. Number 4, its identity remains fixed. Even when the soul moves from one body to another, which is reincarnation, its spiritual essence never shifts or deteriorates.
So the basic concept is eternal servant of the Lord. Krishna Nityadas. It's end of story.
And also,
you happy?
That doesn't mean we start studying Bhagavad Gita from ChatGPT.
It's not about ChatGPT. It's putting a rational to what Shastra says. So in 1 in 10,000, whether soul can be measured or not measured, why it says 10,000. Now you look at 10,000, what it means is we know Jiva exists and it needs a body or some physical form, right? And if you want to recite into something, you've got to be smaller than that. And the smallest microbial is smaller. So it has to be smaller than smallest microbial existed. So 1 in 10,000 is there is no microbial that exists in a part of 1 in 10,000 of everything. And the rational here is that it could have said 1 in 1 million, but Shastra only says 1 is to 10,000 because beyond that you can't say. So it's probably not measured yet, but it's not far from being.
No, it cannot be measured because it says it cannot be measured.
Can be measured.
But the point of why it's said like that, the principle is that the soul is inconceivable. That is the main point. Not necessarily we take a microscope and because also soul is spiritual. And the microscope is material.
It's not questioning what Shastra says, it's putting a rational to understand in general human beings question as it. So whether you can measure it or not, it's really irrelevant. Because as long as you know, if somebody is believing something must be smaller than that. And so Jiva is basically smaller than living microbial organism that ever existed in the world. Now you can measure it beyond that or not, it's irrelevant. That's good.
The idea of our whole discussion here is to come to some conclusion about why we are talking so many reasons as to what this kid, what's like this, what like this. So if we're having problems like this, what I do is that I just tell myself that I'm asking myself too many questions which I really cannot answer. So basically I look at the first rule that we should follow as devotees is just have faith. So whatever the Shastra says, we should just follow it if we're having any doubts. But going into discussions like we are is very good, but sometimes we don't have the intelligence to come to any conclusion regarding this. So we should just accept it.
Simple. What's the difficulty? Hare Krishna. Thank you. One question.
I was just going to say the ultimate purpose of the Shastra, knowledge is important, but as long as that knowledge takes us to the lotus feet of the Lord, that is the whole purpose. Arguing or this is not the purpose of knowledge. Shastra gives us knowledge to understand who we are, who is Krishna, what is our relationship. And that is the main thing, that if it leads to the point of us surrendering to the Lord. If it doesn't,
it defeats the whole purpose. And that's what Jnana Yoga is. That's why people stuck in that Jnana Yoga and they never reach the Bhakti Yoga level. Because they just get confused with the knowledge. But knowledge is also necessary. And that's why when knowledge comes in a disciplic succession, we get it in a simple and easy to understand way and we apply it. That is the process. So, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.